Hi guys. Okay, let's get into this Kobe Bryant, sorry, I don't know why I added an O there. Literary analysis example. Years ago, I think back in 2015, he wrote a poem and he added it to, let's see, Twitter maybe? Anyway, he wrote an ode to basketball. I'm doing this, I picked this as an example for literary analysis just because with the recent tragedy, I thought it was a great example. And also, Mrs. ELA, some of you might have had her before. She also used this in her example of literary analysis because she also thought that it was a great example due to the tragedy. So you'll see that this was written back in 2015 before, way before, the accident happened, but it's still a great example. And it gives us an idea of what literary analysis should look like. So this is literary analysis for his poem. We're going to be doing short stories, but it still has the same basic concepts. So we are going to go through first the poem and then how this author, who is Kaylin Kusera, analyzed it. Okay, so overview. Written in November of 2015, Dear Basketball is the best and most well-known example of Bryant's poetry. The poem was written in a time of great personal strife for Bryant, a period in which he lost his best friend, talent. But I can't love you obsessively for much longer. The season is all I have left to give. My heart can take the pounding, my mind can handle the grind, but my body knows it's time to say goodbye. So this is only a short excerpt of it. There's other excerpts down below that we'll go through for the analysis, but it gives you a brief overview of what we're going to be analyzing. With the woes of another crappy Lakers season weighing heavy upon his brow, Kobe set pen to paper and composed this masterpiece. So first we're getting into definitions and allusions, two things that you might go through for your literary analysis, and also terms that we will go over later on. Line 1, basketball. So obviously in his first line, he mentioned basketball. In this poem, Bryant refers to the sport of basketball as a personification rather than a social construct or sport. Bryant is quite obviously in love with basketball, though it's unclear as to whether this love is required or not. So, but I can't love you obsessively for much longer. So he's referencing basketball as a you, so personifying it, thinking of basketball as a human being or as a living entity, which he loves but can't do much longer because his body is giving out, and so therefore his quote-unquote talent is waning. Line 5, game-winning shot. An enigma for most, the game-winning shot is that rare success at the end of games of sport in high-pressure situations, real-world examples are few and far between. So game-winning shot, while he could be referencing to the actual game-winning shot, as this author says, it's also an enigma for rare successes at the end of game, rare successes in life that kind of usually come at the end of something. So wanting to end an experience on a high rather than a low. So for instance, Kobe Bryant might want a game-winning shot in reference to playing basketball. So maybe the last game he plays, he wants to win. Line 14, the tunnel. The tunnel, you'll see this crossed out, but that's only the author being kind of silly. The tunnel clearly alludes to the cycle of life, which we all encounter. As Kobe runs in and out of the tunnel in a perpetual loop, it mimics the circadian rhythm that we as humans are subjected to daily. So apparently this refers to the tunnel at the Staples Center. So while she was trying to analyze this in a deeper literary level, she was like, oh, Bryant came back and said that this just referenced to the tunnel at Staples Center. Not an illusion, I suppose. But it could be if you really want to go deeper into it. Line 30, Laker Dream. This is obviously an allusion to the peyote-induced second part of Allen Ginsberg's poem Howl. Analysis. Dear Basketball covers two major literary themes, love and unremitting flow of time. The former is perceptible in the metaphors and allusions which Kobe drops like J's throughout the verse. Lines like, I fell in love with you, and as a love so deep I gave you my all, from my body or my mind and body to my spirit and soul. And as a 6-year-old boy deeply in love with you, and you gave a 6-year-old boy his Laker dream, and I'll always love you for it. And love you always, Kobe. So he's writing a letter in a poem version to basketball, which has been a love of his life practically. So that's also personifying the game of basketball, but also using that literary theme of love. Unremitting flow of time, meaning the constant movement of time, how time is kind of unforgiving. So yeah, these hint at the love of personification of the sport of basketball, which he invented for himself at an early age. So this author is giving these quotes, which obviously is should actually have the lines after it, and when you do your literary analysis, you'll be putting the page numbers afterwards just to reference. But then the author goes into explaining these quotes and how it goes back to their thesis of the theme, one of the themes being love. You'll be doing this as well. So Bryant doesn't clearly spell out his obsession though. He builds to it by using classic metaphors like his dad's tube socks, the tunnel, and sweat and hurt. Through use of these devices, Kobe builds up the great love affair of his life and allows us, the reader, to experience the highs and lows of said romance. The aforementioned tunnel is the special interest. In the third stanza, Bryant writes, so the author is referencing third stanza, which is good. I never saw the end of the tunnel, I only saw myself running out of one. Though the tunnel of reference is said to be unending, Kobe is able to picture himself running out of it. This conundrum can only be explained when one realizes that Kobe is clearly alluding to the famous allegory of the cave contained within Plato's Republic. You don't have to compare this. This is obviously a professional doing this, so don't be afraid and saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to compare this to other, big pieces of literature. Not really. Just, this is an actual academic one, so this is higher up. This person probably has a doctorate or something, so don't feel like this has to be super fancy, but at the same time, this is an example of what you're going to be doing. Let's go towards the time part. So tied inexorably to his love, this love is the theme of time. It's relentlessness, it's ending. So that time is always moving, and you only get a certain amount of time with doing something you love or being with someone you love. So even though he's saying that he can't love this or basketball for much longer because his body's giving out, he can't be obsessive about it anymore. It's time to say goodbye. He's saying this. The time is ending. The end of the tunnel is coming. The end of this romance with basketball is ending. And also, the author is giving many quotes and then explaining these quotes. As we stated before, you have to give quotes, reference to them, and then go into explaining why this quote goes back and supports your point. Okay. This also is another example. We're not going to go through this. This is an undergrad English major's literary analysis of Kobe Bryant. So it's a more simplified version because this is an academic, so it's someone who already has their degree and probably a higher degree. And this one's an undergrad, which means they're in their 4-year college or college intro, getting their bachelor's. That's what undergrad. So if you want to read that to get a more simplified version of what you'll be doing, that is probably best, just so that you get a reference to it. So take the time to read it just so that you can get a deeper idea of what a literary analysis is. Okay? So that's the end of this video. Again, no homework for tonight. Homework starts, I think, yes. Tomorrow I will be introing 2 assignments. One that is due on this coming Tuesday after Wednesday, April 1st. And then the other one is an introduce yourself activity because I don't have a lot of you, or I haven't had a lot of you before in my previous classes. So I want to get to know you. So I have a document which gives you examples. I'll go into that more tomorrow. And I am looking forward to getting those assignments to you so you guys can have something to do for this class. All right, so see you tomorrow.